Hello, Internet. So yeah, Tekken here with the weekly comic book rundown of what I read this week. First comic I'm starting off with is Cable and the X-Men, and this week I'm not going to edit any like screen captures into the video just to like save on time and to like get this posted in a timely manner because I'm doing it a little later than I usually do. So yeah, but Cable and the X-Men issue number, what is this? 7. So we continue off where we ended the last issue with Cyclops and Cable talking, but their conversation is cut short when they're attacked by a sword spaceship. And then we see that Dr. Nemesis and Forge were successful in stealing the ship from the hangar that they got into last time, and they take off. And then and then Forge is like, talking to Dr. Nemesis like, I'm not gonna let you have a fun time in space to get your zero G jollies, but then they end up going to space so he can float, and he's like, yay. And then back at the raft in Colossus's cell, Domino is basically just like taking down guards left and right, and they just like keep coming in one by one, and she's like taking them down, and like Colossus isn't really putting up a fight. He's like, stop, I just want to serve my time here and be done with it, because he's like turning himself in and he's just ready to serve a sentence and stuff. But Domino is just like, well, it doesn't matter because this is just a distraction, so Boom Boom can get the alien that we came here to get. But then it goes to Boom Boom, and it's like a really weird scene where like the alien is assaulting her. And yeah, she basically makes this explosion that gets the alien off of her, but the explosion creates a hole in the wall, and since it's an ocean prison, water comes through, and then it cuts back to Colossus and Domino, and then Domino's like, okay, this is taking way longer than it should, so let me go check on Boom Boom. Meanwhile, Cable and Cyclops are still fighting the sword spaceship thing, but then they take it down. And Cable reveals to Cyclops like what his last vision, or not his last vision, but the newest one that he's had of like why they're stealing the spaceship and like what it was. And so Cable says, we're trying to get him up and out of here before bad news comes looking, talking about the alien prisoner. And then Cyclops says, how bad is bad? And then Cable says, 6 million dead by Thursday afternoon. And so yeah. So that's basically what their plan is this time, to avert the vision that Cable's had, is to break out this alien prisoner, get him off planet so that the aliens looking for him will not kill a bunch of humans, or 6 million people. And then it cuts back to Domino. She's in the ocean swimming down to where the cell that Boom Boom was in had flooded, and then it shows that the alien has her in this like bubble thing, and then it gets Domino, pulls her in, and they have this conversation where she basically says that they're coming to take him out of orbit and like off planet, and that they did secure a vehicle by stealing his ship, and he starts laughing like, my ship, haha. Well, he doesn't. It's more of a nyark nyark sound, like really loud. And then it goes back to Dr. Nemesis and Forge. They're in orbit over Earth, and then like the ship system start going like really weird as they're approaching the raft. And then they're hit with this like energy that's very similar to the energy that's keeping Domino and Boom Boom inside the bubble of air under the ocean by the alien. And the ship proceeds to like go to the raft, shoot at it a bit, and then submerge underwater. And then we see Cyclops, Cable talking again. And then Cyclops is just telling him why he came. He's like, I didn't come here to stop you. I came here to make sure you're okay and help you break some intergalactic laws. Well, the second part's just a joke, since they had to like shoot down a sword ship. But yeah, they basically say their piece, and then Cyclops says before Cable like blasts off in a ship that they shot down, go get your team. We'll talk for real soon. And Cyclops blasts off, and then Colossus sees the alien ship emerge out of the water with the alien on board, and then it seems like everybody else is subdued, like Domino and Forge and Doctor Nemesis and Boom Boom. Like we can't really tell. Like you don't really get a good look inside the ship, but it does look like Domino's like not really all the way there. So they're kind of like incapacitated. So yeah. But like Colossus shows up, and then him and the alien have this like really short conversation where the alien says, "Do you feel it? Giant hideous Earthman, that tickle at the back of your neck, that's freedom. You enjoy it. I know I will." And he blasts off. So the alien blasts off, and then Cable's in pursuit in his ship. And then like the teaser image for the next issue is basically a bunch of sword ships shooting at Cable in a spacesuit. So I guess he's going to go and try to get the rest of X-Force from the alien while he's being pursued by sword spaceships. And yeah, that was it for Cable and X-Force issue 7. So there you go. I guess I'll go ahead and read Thunderbolts and then Daredevil and then Iron Man and then Superior Spider-Man. So I'm not really looking forward to Thunderbolts too much, so I'll go ahead and get that out of the way first, and then Daredevil, and then Iron Man, and then Superior Spider-Man I'm looking forward to the most, so I'll save it for last. But yeah, that's it for the Cable and X-Force, and I'll be back after this with my thoughts on Thunderbolts number 8. Alright, so I just read Thunderbolts number 8. Pretty good. Finally some action after a bit of like lead up and just filler stuff. But yeah, so it starts off Chechnya, there's some terrorist stronghold, stuff's going down, and then like Red Hulk breaks in, and he's like, I have some questions for you, talking to this terrorist leader dude, who is like revealed through this conversation to be like an American operative, I guess, turned terrorist or whatever. So he's like getting all this intel from him, like what like location of these this like trade deal going down with these gamma robots that they're trying to track down. And he's like telling them the intel, but then at the end of the conversation, it's like all the terrorist dudes get like mowed down. It's like Red Hulk's like, yeah, well, you're all just a bunch of terrorists, and like he has like Elektra, Deadpool, and Punisher in Overwatch, and they just like mow everybody down. That was pretty nice. And then excuse me, they're in England, or like it skips to England. There's some professor dude giving some speech about terrorists, and he's like something. They need do nothing more than look in the mirror, blah blah blah. And then it's like some professor guy, and then someone's like, sign my book. And he's having this conversation with them about his experience, air quote, as with terrorism and all that stuff. So I'm not sure if this was like a flashback from the person that they just killed or somebody else, so I'm not sure. So there's like no time given, it just says like a different location, so I'm guessing this is a different person. But then they flash back to the area that the arms dealers are going to be meeting to trade the, or just like to have their meeting and stuff. And so you have Deadpool like on Overwatch for the sniper rifle, and Red Hulk's like watching the meeting go down. He's like I guess he's like running the show of like who's doing what. And then like Deadpool's like saying all this stuff about Punisher, but it turns out not to be true, because he's like he seems like he was really starting to lose it, but then shows Punisher and he's just like sitting there eating some beans or something, so he's just like calm and stuff. And then Red Hulk's like, well, that's why I teamed you up with him, so we just go and check on him or whatever. And then And then like the leader hears him say that remark about that. That's why he teamed him up with the Punisher. And then he's all, you don't trust me? Is that why you teamed up with me? And he's like, that's part of the reason. And then he says, the other reason is my fingers are too big to type. And he slides him this laptop, and he explains that he needs him to like monitor this meeting that they're having and like trace all their cell phones, like satellites and stuff, so they can like monitor in on their conversation, yada yada yada. So then it goes into the meeting with the arms dealers, which I was confused here because it has like the arms dealers are meeting, and then like one of the women in a burqa is like there, and then like one of the arms dealers is like talking about that, and like it made me think that that was Elektra, but then it goes back. The scene goes back to Punisher and Deadpool, and he says, "Dude, did you pick this perch? It sucks." And then Punisher's like, "Depends on where you're standing, I suppose." And then Deadpool is all, well, what do you know? You're right. And he has like a pistol out, and he's about to like pull it out and shoot him. And then all of a sudden there's like a kapow, and it goes back to that room with the ladies that I thought were, or one of them I thought was Elektra. And then like there's the speech bubble of the static of a radio, and it's like Elektra status. And then it shows that Elektra was actually on a roof, Overwatch on Punisher to like, cause Red Hulk thought that Deadpool would do this and just like try to like do something stupid, cause there's been like tension between those two since like a couple issues ago. And so he's like, yeah, we'll deal with Wade later. And so until then, Thunderbolts are go. And so he says that, and they launch some RPGs into the building, or the vehicles in front of the building that the arms dealers are meeting in, and then they try to flee the room, and then one of them gets a like submachine gun pointed at him, and he's like, "Who'd you betray us to?" or something. And then he, like it shows that he's getting like choked off panel by like the symbiotic stuff, and he's like, ugh. And then it shows that Venom was actually one of the women in the burqas, so that was like a cool misdirection there. So yeah, they all basically start throwing down on all these arms dealers. It's a really good action scene, and they're like blowing up the cars, and like they go into their like safe spot, or not safe spot, but their little meeting room, cut off their like escape. Red Hulk runs in and just like wrecks stuff, and then it's like it shows back to the meeting room, and they're all in there, or not all, but like Punisher, Elektra, Venom, and Red Hulk. He's like, Red Hulk is like charging through a wall. Punisher's like shooting some dude. Elektra's like slicing dudes up with her blade, and then like Venom's just like going crazy with like his awesome Black Ops skills. And so they kill all the dudes, or the henchmen, and then it has like the one arms dealer there that they came to find. And then Red Hulk starts to interrogate him. He's like, the supplier and the supply, now. And then arms dealer dude is all, or he says, I do not know. And then Red Hulk says, which part of you should I pull off last? And then the arms dealer is all like, well, I don't know anything. He just gave me this phone. He's like, he didn't give me a name. He is bad for my business. He gives me this phone. He tells me to arrange meetings with the sheiks. Says to call when they. And then Red Hulk's like, he gave you a phone? And then he's like, yeah. And then Red Hulk says, have you called him yet? And the arms dealer says, no, but it looks like he is. And then his phone starts buzzing, and Red Hulk says, no. And then it goes back to the leader who's been like monitoring the call, and like he's looking at the like satellite feed for the cell phone, and it says incoming signal. But then the final panel is like a just giant explosion in, I guess, the room that everybody else was in, and it says kaboom, and then dun 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 to be continued. So they were like, what happened to everybody at the meeting? So yeah. And then like the teaser for the next issue is like them finally throwing down against one of the Gamma robots. So finally gonna have some action with the Gamma robots in the next issue. And that was Thunderbolts number 8. I enjoyed it. So yeah. What was I was gonna read next? So yeah, next is Daredevil. Yeah. And then Iron Man, then Spider-Man. After this. Alright, taken here, and I just read Daredevil number 25. Really, really good issue. So it starts off with Daredevil's talking to that kid that comes in at the very end of the last issue. He's talking to him about how he knows where the people that have been experimenting on all the different people that they've been trying to duplicate Daredevil's powers with. He's like, all right, take me to him. And he checks his pulse to make sure he's being truthful and stuff, which is a pretty cool panel. He's like, all right, so he's not lying. Let me continue to ask him some questions. And so he's like, show me where they're at. And he takes him across the city on his billy club grappling hook. And so they land on this roof. And then Daredevil tells the dude, he's like, all right, get to an ER and tell them to operate on you because or something. Wait, let me because he can tell that they put a pacemaker in him to make sure that he didn't lie to Daredevil on the way there. But then they oh yeah, he says it's almost certainly sabotage, so that's why he's telling him to go to the ER so that they can take it out before. But then before he can finish that sentence, they remotely kill him with the false pacemaker, and he just falls over and dies. And then there's these cool panels where it's Daredevil's checking all his senses. He's then he says he thinks to himself, so they don't care that I know that this is a trap, and it's a good one. I hear nothing from inside, smell nothing, taste nothing on the air, and each time it does that, it has a different organ for that sense. His ear is for hearing nothing, and his nose for smelling nothing, and his mouth for taste nothing on the air. And so he falls through this glass ceiling and into this empty warehouse, and he's listening, is there anybody there? Because I don't hear anybody. This is an empty warehouse. And then someone walks up, and as they're walking, all these senses are stimulated from Daredevil, and he can hear it, and then he can smell it as he gets closer. And so there's toxic waste, old penny smell of bloody boxing wraps, and the shaving cream. And so he realizes that whoever it is wearing his dad's old boxing robe. And he's like, who are you if you dare come before me like that in my dad's boxing robe? And then the person announces himself, and they're like, I am Ikari. And then Daredevil thinks to himself, Ikari, Japanese for fury. And so basically they have this epic throwdown where it's pound for pound, move for move, they're basically evenly matched. And they start off fighting in this warehouse, but then Daredevil realizes that there's he's at a he's not at an advantage in the warehouse, so he flees out to the rooftops because he's okay, this is where I have the advantage. But then he gets a bit cocky, and he gets hit with one of the sickles that the Ikari dude has, because he has these two sickles. And so that happens, and then they're both on this high wire, and then Ikari cuts the high wire rope. They both start to fall, and then let's see. So basically, and that causes Daredevil to drop one of his billy clubs. I think he dropped both of them, throughout. I'm not sure if he had dropped one or both at this point. So he has one. Yeah, he has one still after he drops the first one. And then he has this cool sequence of flashbacks when he's at a disadvantage in this fight, of how this old guy named Stick taught him how to do all these things when he was training him and stuff. And so, like, that's what he's thinking back throughout this whole fight. He's like, well, I have a lifetime of experience as Daredevil, so that is my one advantage in this fight. And so he's, like, flashing back to that, and, like, there's, like, all this stuff happening. He's, like, flashing back and, like, falling off a building while he's getting attacked and, like, chased by Ikari. And so he, like, does this, like, crazy move where he keeps his guard up the whole time as he's falling from a building, and is able to catch Ikari off guard and, like, hit him into this window as he falls off this building. And then, since he still has one of his billy clubs that extends to a pole, he hits him with that in the neck as he falls away. And then, like, he's basically trying to, like, distance himself and zone out Ikari so he can, like, get a bit of a breather. But then, like, Ikari grabs his billy club as it's extended and just, like, snaps it. So now they're both at, so now his, like, advantage that they had for, like, a split second is gone instantly. That was really good. And then there's a panel where it says, where it's, like, narrating, like, Daredevil's thinking, I can smell sweat and blood under his mask. I can hear his aching lungs struggle for air, and his broken bones scrape. He's hurting bad. And I'm sure he's thinking exactly the same about me because he has the same senses, so he can tell the same injuries that Daredevil has in this fight. And so, yeah, then they basically just go, like, toe to toe here, and, like, Daredevil's, like, just trying to, like, take him down. He's like, man, I gotta take this guy down. And he realizes he has, like, a lifetime of experience on this guy, and he's like, I have to like, take this guy down because this is, like, this is really dragging on, and I'm, like, bleeding profusely here, and I don't want to die. And so he falls down to, like, a sporting goods store that he's, like, familiar with, sets off the fire alarm as Ikari, like, walks slowly inside in pursuit. And this whole time, like, Daredevil's thinking, like, he can't see, and he has, like, the same radar sense, so they're basically evenly matched. And so he's walking through the rain, which Daredevil, like, is narrating the whole time that, like, it basically negates 95% of his radar sense. So since Ikari hasn't had the lifetime of training that Daredevil has, he has no radar sense at this point, whereas Daredevil has 95%. And so he sees Ikari, like, walk by, and he's within striking distance and doesn't even know he's there, and he, like, goes to reach for some baseball bats, but then Ikari says, try the red one, and then it shows, like, this panel of, like, fear in Daredevil's eyes, which is amazing because he's supposed to be the man without fear, and then he thinks to himself he's not blind. So it's like he actually does have, like, an advantage to where he can see where Daredevil cannot. So, like, that whole time where he's, like, stalking him in the sporting goods store, he can actually see him. He was just, like playing him to make him think that he couldn't, which was, like, so good. And then he basically just, like, goes to town on Daredevil and is, like, beating him within an inch of his life. Well, not within an inch of his life, because he, like, is able to get up and walk away, but he just goes to town on him and just, like, wow, it's pretty brutal. And then at the end, he's basically saying, haha, wait, what does he say? Yeah, so Daredevil's, like, on the ground in a pool of his own blood, and, like, the fire alarm's gone off, so, like, there's all this, like, water and blood, and it's, like, it's pretty bad. And then Ikari says, it's almost over, Mr. Murdoch. Almost. Now, you know how your life will end, and by whose will. I'm sorry. Now you know how your life will end, and by whose will. What we don't want you to know is the when. It will be soon, tonight, perhaps, or the next, at moonrise, or 5 minutes from now. It will be soon. But I promise you, you will never sense it coming, and that scares you. Sadistic, yes, but your pulse is pounding. I can hear it. And coming from you, the sound is melodic. What's the last sound you'll hear, Murdoch? My footsteps? The screech of brakes? The crack of a rifle? It could be any of those things. And then he says, my master alone knows how to frighten you, Murdoch. He knows how to stab your heart, run Murdoch, run for your life. And then like it teases the next issue. It's like Man with Fear, as like Daredevil's just like walking off in the rain, a broken man after just getting the beatdown of his life in this fight, which was insane and just really good. This issue, that was really good, I gotta say. So it's like next issue is Man with Fear. So it's like this fight, this whole like issue just changed him to where he like was the man without fear, but now it's like he has like for like the first time ever felt fear, and that was just really well done, that issue. So I cannot wait to see that. So I still have Iron Man and Superior Spider-Man to read through, so I'll go ahead and make another video with those two, since this is at like 20 something minutes. And yeah, part 2 with Iron Man will be coming up on the other side of this upload.